Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is to pull out your climate controls, and for that you're going to use a plastic scraper. You don't always have to use one of these, but it's the best way to do it without damaging anything. And you can go in the sides right here and try and pull these out. Sometimes you can pull them out just with your hands, but if you can't, just kind of get inside of these corners, and once it starts to come out, it's actually pretty easy to pull it out. Once you have that out, there is a connector around the back right there, so remove that and get this section out of the way just to make it easier. You don't actually need to remove this, but I'm going to do it just to clean everything up and have more space down here. Next thing you're gonna want to do is remove these 4 screws, and for that you use a 10mm socket. So let's get that going. I'm going to go ahead and use this power drill. Now with the screws out, all you gotta do is pull out the head unit, and you don't have to remove or unplug anything in the head unit. All we're gonna do is remove one little piece, this one right here. And to do that, there are 2 little screws. You can see one there at the bottom of your screen. There's another one on the other side right there. So now we're gonna unplug all of the cables, and you don't have to do this, but it just makes it easy. So I'm gonna unplug everything here so we can bring the head unit out of the vehicle and finish up the installation. When unplugging all of these from the head unit, you don't have to worry about where they go. They only fit in one place. So don't worry, unplug them all. If you want, you can count them just to make sure that you plug them all back in. And different models of 4Runner will have different amounts of connectors. But if you want to do that, just count them, make sure you plug everything back in, and that's it. They only fit in one place. You don't have to worry about that. And now with the head unit off, let's go back to the table. So like I mentioned before, you don't actually have to remove this off the vehicle to actually get this dash mount installed, but it's easier for the video and it'll help you understand a little bit better what we're doing here. So let's remove that screw and that screw right there. With those 2 screws off, you can go ahead and pull this section out, and this is what our dash mount attaches to. So let's get this one out of the way. So now we're gonna grab this piece, flip it around. We're gonna grab our dash mount lower plate, and we're gonna line it up with all of these holes. You see this crease here, this bend? This is this side. So match those together. We'll just kind of fit that in there. It'll be very snug. You'll have to push it in. You'll feel when it's inserted all the way, and you'll see that it sits flush all the way around. Once it's sitting flush, we're gonna go ahead and mark all of those holes, because we're gonna have to drill a hole in every location. The best way to do that is just grab something sharp that happens to fit in there and just mark the hole. Remember, the black piece is just plastic, so pretty much anything will mark it. So I'm just gonna use this screwdriver, which happens to fit perfectly in there, and gonna mark all the holes. If whatever you're gonna use is a little tight, try not to use it, because you don't want to damage the threads in all of these holes. So make sure there's some clearance. If it's tight but it goes through, it's fine. Just make sure you don't damage those threads. Okay, so now I have everything marked. Pull it out, and yeah, I can see all of the marks. And again, this is just plastic, so it's gonna be very easy to mark it with pretty much anything. You can use a pen, all kinds of different stuff. And now we're gonna drill through all of those marks. Okay, so I have here a drill motor with a 1/4 inch drill bit, and depending on your skills, You may or may not want to do those holes with a smaller drill bit first and then the big one. You want to try and stay as centered as possible. And that just minimizes the possibility of the holes not lining up and then having to open up that hole a little bit more. 1/4 inch is still a little bit bigger than the screws you're going to use, so that gives you some wiggle room. But if you're not sure that you got them marked very well in the center, just do it again or drill it with a smaller drill bit, which will be easier to keep centered, and then go with a bigger one. I've done this a few times, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it with a 1/4 inch drill bit from the get-go. Okay, so I'm done drilling all of the holes. We're gonna go ahead and put the plate back onto the plastic piece, and you're gonna wanna make sure that they all line up. That's kind of what you want from all of them. See, those line up pretty good, but you want to check all of them. And if any of them don't line up, you can always go back and stretch these holes a little bit in whatever direction they need it. That way you won't have any interference with your screws and your top plate. So now I'm going to bring the top plate. Oh yeah, one more thing. Clean up all of the little burrs on these holes just to make it easier and make it a cleaner install. And that will also minimize the chances of you getting some interference between the screws and any of the plates. So now we go ahead and put our top plate on there, and everything should line up, and we can go ahead and install some of our hardware. Now, the way this is designed is so that you only need screws in the back 4 holes and maybe this front one. So all of these are going to be used for ball mounts. The back ones you can't really use ball mounts in because of the way the 4Runner is. This is where the clock is, and it's just it doesn't fit. So if you just use the screws to attach the plates to the back, you'll get a very, very solid mount, and you have 6 spaces in the front to use for different accessories. So we're just gonna go ahead and drop those screws in place, kind of turn them by hand, make sure they're grabbing. And I would recommend installing some of these in the front, and these are also included, just to make sure that everything is lined up before tightening it up. 2 should be fine. So now we grab our Allen wrench and we tighten up all of these. Now these should fit loosely. You should be able to get them in and out without any interference. So if you can feel that they grab the nut in the back, that means everything is done correctly. Like this one feels a little bit tight. These are 5/32, by the way. Okay, it's a little tight, but it threads in just fine. This one too, and this one is a little tight too, as long as it's threading in fine. Yep, it's threading in fine. You're good to go. Now we're gonna put this back on our head unit. So make sure you have the plate oriented in that direction and work that in as best as you can. The only thing that you really have to keep an eye out for is this tab in there needs to fit in this channel right here. I don't know if you can see that, but there's a little channel in here that these should go into. So once you throw that in there like that, just kind of work it in there. It'll all fit, and it should be snug just the way it came out. So very, very tight. That, and then you can throw those screws back into place. So let's do that. Okay, so now the installation is complete. As you can see, that's hardly even visible there, but let's throw it in the truck and see what it looks like. Okay, so now we're gonna throw the radio or the head unit back on. So that means plugging everything back in. And like I said before, everything fits in only one place. It's mostly color coded as well, so you don't really have to worry about much in here. So just plug everything back in. Most of the bundle also retains its shape, so you can kind of tell where everything goes just by the way it sits on the harness itself. So get everything back in. Let's see, there's one more on this side, and throw it back in. Make sure everything clicks into place, and let's get those installed now. Okay, so now we bring in the AC controls. Remember to plug that back in, and then slide it into place. Everything should click in just like when it came out. Nothing fancy there, it's just clips. Make sure everything is sturdy and pushed all the way in, and you're good to go. Dash mount installed. Now you can get rid of this thing. Oh, that's pretty strong glue. Okay, so I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna let the customer do that. But check this out. Yeah, there's a dash mount there. This is the driver's perspective. Yeah, you can't really see that. You could see the clock if it was on. And there's your dash mount. All right, so no, obviously the dash mount itself doesn't do anything for you. You need the ball mounts, and all you gotta do to install ball mounts, get them, put the screw in place, figure out exactly where you want them. Remember, you got 6 places to install these. In this case, we're gonna go for this left-hand middle one. So just thread it in. You can make this as tight as you want. Remember, the bottom piece is machined aluminum. You got aluminum on top, so you're not really gonna damage anything. You don't need to make it super tight, but you can, and this is not going anywhere. It's solid as it can be. All right, now with that ball mount in place, we're gonna install our mighty magnet on it. And this is just a super strong magnet that we can use off-road, and this is our MAC 125 arm. This arm we make in-house in that machine over there. It is billet aluminum, just like the bottom plate on your dash mount. This is obviously black because it's been anodized. It's visible, so that matters. It's black anodized billet aluminum, super strong arms, super versatile. They have really good articulation angles that you probably won't get with any other brand of arms, and they're super short, so they don't really introduce any vibrations or exacerbate the vibrations from your vehicle into your device. There you go, that's it.